Hey everyone, it's Tracy here. Are you wondering what to invest in? Are you thinking like what to do in a market when inflation's rising, we've got interest rates rising, and you want to invest in a high quality company that's still growing double digits and has really, really strong fundamentals, yet you don't want to pay a high price for it? Well, I have an idea for you. Now, this company is used 24 hours a day. Not saying you are using it 24 hours a day, but I suspect you're using it almost every day. And it also makes money 24 hours a day. So if you want a company that's safe, that's high quality, that's pretty much no-brainer, yet has still some pretty good upside, and it's not overly expensive, then you want to watch today's video. Hey everyone, I'm a Canadian YouTuber that talks the talk and walks the walk. I'm a former engineer that now manages a multi-million-dollar investment portfolio of real estate and stocks in Canada. So in my YouTube channel, I love talking about stock investing, real estate investing, so that I help more and more people grow multiple streams of income so that they can all design their best life. So if this is something that you want, then hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button to get the latest and greatest videos coming to you every single week. So let's get back with the video. In today's video, I'm going to go over a top quality growth company that I think is kind of undervalued. I want to talk, of course, about the risks before I talk about the rewards, and of course, reassess my last year's price predictions and give you an update on what my thoughts are. Now, I just want to say that this is not financial advice. This video is for entertainment purposes only. So please do your own due diligence. Now let's get back with the video. Now the company is Google. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, that is so boring. And you're right, it is boring. But hey, this video is talking about a boring, slightly undervalued growth company that's still going to grow double digits and has plenty of upside. So this is what this video is all about today. Now I know it did shoot up 100% last year since my last video up here, and high five to all the Google investors. But you're probably wondering, is there any more upside? Well, bottom line, I still believe there's plenty of upside, and this is what I'm going to do a deep dive on today. Now, Google's business model is primarily a big search engine that sells a ton of advertising to you and me, like we're seeing in the YouTube videos, like we're seeing when we do a little Google search, and then all of a sudden you see this annoying advertising that's coming after you just because you watched it once or you looked at that advertisement just once. I'm sure you find it annoying, like I do, but that's how Google makes a ton of its money. In fact, it generates over 80% of its revenue through advertising. And then it makes up a bunch of money in cloud, in Google Play, in its phone, etc., which is fairly minor compared to the big bulk of its revenue, which is advertising. Now, its biggest growth area is actually Google Cloud, but it's got some big competitors. We've got Microsoft, we've got Amazon playing that space, and Google is not leading in that area, but they are growing really, really fantastically in Google Cloud. Now, interestingly enough, one of Google Cloud's biggest customer is Apple. And obviously Apple is the biggest, or one of the biggest companies by market cap around the world. So that's a big deal. Now let's quickly go over the fundamentals for Google. Now, Google is an A+ company. Its return on invested capital is like amazing. Its revenue is also growing steadily and predictably every single year. Its earnings, which is its net income, which is like after paying all the expenses, is like growing beautifully. Its cash flow is growing. Its profit margins actually improving because I think probably to do with Google Cloud, which is high profit margins. So all to say is Google is in a very, very strong position. But does the past really predict the future? And let's dive into that really quickly. So Google has been spending a ton of research and development money into artificial intelligence. And the reason being is because it wants you and I to continue to use a search engine so that it can make money off of us. Okay, that's just me in like simple terms. And how they're improving their search engine? Well, they're actually got this model called BERT. Now, I don't know what the full acronym stands for, but essentially it's a model that helps you get your searches faster. So rather than you just saying like putting keyword terms and it's taking those terms literally, I'll actually try to understand the meaning behind those words, which is this relationship between the words and what does it mean, like the so what. And that way it can actually come up with results for you even faster. Even something as simple as me the other day looking at my YouTube videos, and I realized that I didn't actually put any chapters in my video, but YouTube actually listened to what I was saying and probably was reading the text off of my transitions and create chapters for me, which I thought was a little bit creepy, but really cool at the same time, which is showing the depth of its technology. So what does this mean from an investor's point of view? Well, to me, simply speaking, we're going to use Google for a very, very long time because they are spending a ton of money and time just trying to figure out how to add more and more value to their customers through faster searches. And did you even notice that they're selling a bunch of products so that we could use in our house, so that we could use it on our computer, so that we could use it on our phone, using Google every single day. And that if we want to know what the temperature is or how's it like outside, we'll have even a little Google pod to tell us what the temperature is. So they have a smart assistant that can answer questions every single minute of the day if we want to. In technical terms, this is called ambient computing. So essentially they want us to use Google all the time. Google also has some optionality. One of them is quantum computing. Now, quantum computing is one of their big bets that probably take another decade because they've been spending a ton of money and haven't seen a lot of results out of it. Another one is Waymo, which is their autonomous self-driving cars, which are being actually used in Phoenix. Another one is that they actually have some money in SpaceX, which is obviously pretty cool because they're sending civilians into space. So in my opinion, Google is going to be a multi-generational company because of all their investments in artificial intelligence, in quantum computing, in self-driving cars, in, well, even space travel via SpaceX. So to me, Google is a no-brainer company. But of course, let's talk about the risks before we jump into an assessment of my price predictions. The first risk is something I talked about last year, which is the antitrust legal issues, which is essentially saying Google is so big, it's becoming a monopoly and it's giving, well, Google an unfair advantage. Now, this issue has dampened. It actually hasn't surfaced lately, but it doesn't mean that in the future it can't resurface. So this is always going to be an overhanging shadow over Google. Number two, the competitors. Did you know in 2021, TikTok actually surpassed YouTube in the number of eyeballs that were on it, which is like a big deal, okay? Because YouTube has always been a mega giant, yet TikTok, well, did a better job. So this is going to be a big deal going forward, meaning it could continue on. This is always going to always be a risk where there's more and more competitors that are in the space trying to get the same people's attention in whatever ways that they can. And it's going to start, reducing the viewers on YouTube or on Google search. And that way it'll reduce its advertising revenue, okay? Which means less money in investors' pocket. So this is something that you always have to think of if you're investing in Google. Now let's jump into my price predictions, which is one of my favorite parts because, well, this is not a hard science. There's an art to it. And so let's reassess last year's price prediction. So last year in my video up here, I said Google could range between $2,900 to $7,000 a year. This is based on, growth rate between 10% to 20% year-over-year growth in the next 2 to 5 years. Well, of course, Google already hit my first price target, which is $2,900 per share. Now, this is before any stock split. Now, reassessing the growth rate and comparing to the actual growth rate, like right here, well, you can see that Google has done like monster jumps, okay? In 2021, it jumped 84%, which is like insane. So, of course, all the Wall Street analysts had to go and revise all their future estimates. And now it's getting a bit closer to what it predicted last year. So all to say is, well, it kind of is along the lines of what I was thinking last year, which is patting my own shoulder. So looking at the analyst revisions on the earnings per share estimates, you can see that, well, Google's revenue growth is kind of lumpy. I totally don't believe that Google's earnings growth is going to jump another 84% in 2022, which is exactly what the analysts are thinking. I like to think of it's more linear. Google's just going to grow its predictable 10 to 20% year-over-year growth, which means that I'm still sticking by my future price predictions, which is $45.99 to $7,000 in 3 to 5 years. But if we were just looking off of the analyst predictions, you could see that they're expecting in December 2026 an earnings per share of $228. So if you use a P ratio of 25, you just go P ratio times his earnings per share estimates, which would give me about $5,700. So it's within the range that I'm thinking of as well. Now, is this realistic? Well, Google's been pretty much growing at a very, very steady pace. I'd be super surprised if it doesn't hit it. And it could be to do with the risks that I noted, which is like, the antitrust legal issues, the fact that competitors are going to overtake some of the space. But I kind of think some of the risks are not that great. So I would say that the analyst predictions are kind of realistic, in my opinion. It could actually be a little bit underestimated because Google has a huge track record of beating its earnings estimates year over year. In fact, if you look at its past like decade, many, many times Google has beaten the analyst earnings per share estimates, which is like, woohoo! In my humble opinion, when we're facing an erratic stock market, risks of interest rates rising sooner than later, with the fact that inflation could surge past 6% in 2022, I really like to concentrate on my highest quality companies. One of those companies is Alphabet. And given that Alphabet has actually got quite a bit of upside, like I said, between $4,600 to $7,000, or if we use the analyst predictions, which is $5,700 in 2026, that's 3 years from now. So if the stock price is 2,900 today, well, it has 100% potential upside in the next 3 years. Now, say it misses that and it happens to be in the next 5 years. Well, that's still pretty decent growth. And that's something that I love, which is the upside. And as for the downside is that it could take a little longer to get there, but I still believe it will get there. Hey everyone, I just want to pause and share a couple awesome resources that I have that I think is going to help you in so many ways to help you build a 6 or 7-figure stock portfolio and build a lifetime of passive income. I have an ultimate guide to dividend growth investing. This is full of actionable tips, no fluff in there, filled with practical advice so that you can start or restart growing your dividend growth portfolio. So be sure to check out the links in the description below. I also have a waiting list for my Financial Freedom Accelerated course and coaching combo. Ooh, last time I shared this, it was sold out. So be sure, if you're super interested in building a 6 or 7-figure stock portfolio and a lifetime of passive income, guided by me, personally me, and important things like taxes in Canada. So last time I did this, well, it was sold out. So if you're super interested, please sign up in the waiting list below so you get notified when enrollment opens up. So be sure to hit that link in the description below. So let's get back with the video. Hey everyone, I hope you found this video super helpful. All I ask of you is please smash that like button, hit it, so you let me know to create more of these videos for you. I'll see you in the next video.